Yeah, I think what's missing in the final third is a lot of things. It's decision making, it can be quality, it's even volume, right? Because I think we get into good setup positions a lot, but we're not converting those into actual shots, actual chances, because I know everyone's favorite advanced metric is expected goals. Well, the fatal flaw in expected goals is you have to shoot. And so if you're not generating shots, you're not generating expected goals, even if you're in good parts of the field. So we use something else sometimes called expected threat, which can at least measure you getting into those parts of the field. But again, if you don't shoot, you can't score, and sometimes that doesn't matter either. So, yeah, we just need more quality, better decisions in the final third, and then volume. We need to get there more and more often. Yeah, we had a deal for weeks. We had a deal that was agreed for weeks. They obviously have an extra layer with their the administration process that they're in, so that was a there was a bit of a delay in there that was somewhat understandable to a certain extent, but after a certain point, it just became unreasonable, and it was clear that they weren't, uh, you know, maybe behaving in good faith is a good term, and so it became clear that there's one negotiating is one thing, right? When both parties are trying to get the deal done, and maybe I start here and you start there, and we'll figure it out, and we'll get there. But I think when there's a lack of trust, or when the trust is broken in that relationship, it becomes difficult to make concessions and to adapt and to adjust, because if I give you this, then you're just going to maybe ask for something else and something else and something else, and are we actually ever going to get this deal done? And so in my experience, when there's only two of the three parties that want to get the deal done, the deal's not going to get done. And that's basically what this came down to. Yeah, so there's kind of two layers to that, because obviously with the salary cap, it's an extra wrinkle. We have mandatory spend and discretionary spend. So oftentimes we look at for players that fit the mandatory spend criteria, right? We look at what we have in the cap, what the market is in MLS, and kind of fit, like, we want to be competitive in those positions, like some right back, left back, whatever it is, center back, and so we kind of run it that way. In terms of discretionary players, and if we're looking at signing DPs or U22s, it becomes a recommendation from the soccer side, from the soccer department, and we collaborate with ownership in terms of what we have not just in this window, but over this year, over multiple years, and how we amortize the transfer fees and the expenses. So it's just a collaborative process with ownership, and how we arrive to the point where we feel we have enough money to get a quality player in, and they obviously are comfortable with the level of spend relative to how the club is run. Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I think there's some things that pertain to the conversations that we have, and the relationship even between myself and the Millers is still relatively new, even though maybe I've known longer than the public has. But I think they're a group, they're a family that they're part of this community. They're such a big part of this community, and they see the club as a representation of that. And so what does that mean? Well, that means they want that representation to be successful. They want that representation to be a winning team, and we want the same thing. So I think it's very aligned in terms of what the ambition is for the club, and then how that translates itself into dollars and cents at the end of the day. Then that's what we work together on and collaborate on. And as you pointed out, throwing a big check down for 10, 20, 30, 40 million even doesn't guarantee you anything, right? And it's all about whatever you have to spend. It's about spending it wisely. I've been at Seattle, I've been at Miami, I've been at LA, and now I'm here, and this is my favorite place to be. And it's not just because Utah's amazing, but it's also because the way the club operates, I really enjoy. I don't want to tell 35-year-old Europeans no thanks all day long. That's not my favorite thing to do, right? But what I like to do is find guys where we can use money efficiently to get quality on the field. And, again, when you discover a player, there's nothing better than that, right? When a guy like Andres Gomez does really well, there's nothing better than that. Dominic Marzouk, Brian Ojeda, Emeka Anelli, right? That's fantastic. So, sure, there's 30 teams in MLS, and 29 are probably pissed off at the end of every season. So, the odds are not in our favor, okay, in terms of that. Only one team gets to win the title. But just because your team doesn't win the title doesn't mean they're not trying to win the title. I think the investment that the Blitzer Group, and obviously now it's the Millers, but have made since I've been here has been extensive, right? And the amount of transfer fees that we've put in, the spend on discretionary players, right? When I got here, there was, I think, one or two DPs and no U22 players. Right now, we've got a DP, we've got 4 U22s. Last year, we had 3 and 3. So there is consistent investment at that level, right? And I think the level of investment, while it might frustrate some fans, I think is appropriate enough to find success in this league. I'm never satisfied and never happy until I'm part of the one team that is happy at the end of the season out of the 30. So there's always disappointment unless we're the ones holding the trophy at the end of the day. But again, it is something where there's 29 teams that get to complain every year that, we didn't win, so these guys must not care. And I can assure everyone that that's not the case. That we're doing everything we can. Obviously, Pablo, the players, myself, and ownership. And I think the ambition is there.